Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing the fastest and most dedicated combo deck in the format, which is Oops All Spells. This is what's called a glass cannon deck, where it aims to win on the first or second turn of the game, and it can be vulnerable to certain things, but it basically wins or loses in that very short space of time. However, this is probably the most resilient of the glass cannon decks that exist in Legacy, because we've got ourselves 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Pact of Negation, Cabal Therapies which can be pointed elsewhere, and we're a pretty reliable and fast combo deck. So, what does this deck do? This deck casts Undercity Informer or Balustrade Spy to mill your entire library, to then bring back Narcomoebas, which you then sacrifice to Dread Return, to then bring back your Thassa's Oracle and win the game. So as you can imagine, a decent chunk of this deck is just mana. So we've got Chrome Moxes, we've got Lotus Petals, we've got a load of Spirit Guides, we've got Summoner's Pact to fetch them, we've got Dark Ritual, we've got Cabal Ritual, we've got these cards which are lands when we want them to be, but they're not in our library, so we can still mill through our whole deck. So that's the mana side of the deck. We also have a few interesting ones I'd like to talk about here. The Bridge from Below, sometimes you need to Cabal Therapy yourself or the opponent first. And Bridge from Below means that you're going to have enough creatures to do that and then cast the Dread Return, because the Dread Return can be in your opening hand, or the Thassa's Oracle can be in your opening hand, so you might need to get them out of there somehow. The Wild Cantor is something you can find with Summoner's Pact to give yourself a mana of a specific colour. So if you need black mana to start off, you can go and get this, then you can sacrifice this, Dark Ritual, etc, etc, etc. The Memory's Journey, so if someone attacks your graveyard after it's all milled, this allows you a rebuy where you can put the Thassa's Oracle back into your deck with a couple of Lotus Petals, or there are various other lines, including one that involves making Bridge from Below tokens so that you have lethal damage over the course of a couple of turns, so you can kill them before you Memory's Journey, before you draw the cards you've put back with Memory's Journey. We also have Reanimate, because your Thassa's Oracle might get countered somehow, or you might be in trouble with the Thassa's Oracle that way, and you can just reanimate it instead. So this is a cheap rebuy that we can have. It's going to be easier to cast given the fact that you can Memory's Journey in a black source and a reanimate, and that's going to be easier than Thassa's Oracle if you need to have something like a Thoughtseize to go alongside it and clear the way. So, or you want the Pact of Negation, etc. So there's some relatively complex lines for a deck that a lot of people think is quite simple. All right, let's have a quick look at the sideboard. The sideboard is lots of dedicated things. So lots of graveyard hate at the moment is target player. So Lane of Sanctity gets around that. Xanthous Swarm is your anti-counterspell thing. Play this on turn 1 and go ahead. Foundation Breaker is just a relatively good catch-all that destroys artifacts or enchantments. It's also a creature, which means we can go and find it with Summoner's Pact. And then we have 4 Force of Vigors, which is, a pretty standard card to find in a lot of decks these days. And we've got a reasonable amount of green cards, so we'll be able to pitch to it. So against like prison-y type decks and things that are playing Rest in Peace or whatever, we can do that. And then we have a couple of Leyline in the Voids against opposing decks that might be able to race us potentially. So that's more like for the mirror, I would imagine. But there might be a few decks that we want these in for, aside from that. I do have a sideboard guide here, so I'm hopefully going to make the correct choices as we go. But I think that's about it for talking about the deck. So let's just jump into a league and see how we do. I suspect it'll be a quick one. If you wouldn't mind scrolling down and hitting that subscribe button just before we get into this, that would be lovely. All right, let's go. So we're on the draw here. We have 2 mana here, so it's not enough to mill our library. So I think we mulligan this one. So this one we have 1, 2, 3. This can go and get another guy, and we can pitch here. We also have Pact of Negation backup. So we can put the Thoughtseize away and Pact of Negation. The only thing we're vulnerable to here is a Thoughtseize from our opponent on turn 1. But we will keep these. 1, 2. This gets Wild Cantor. Well, it gets any mana source because we're going to use this as the other mana source. Yeah, sure. Just making sure I've got it all right. Our opponent's played a mountain and passed. So I think we win the game here. So play this. Let's pay 3 life. We will cast a Summoner's Pact. We'll get ourselves an Elvish Spirit Guide. We will exercise for red mana. Exercise for green mana. Cast this. Exercise for green mana. Sacrifice this. Hit ourselves. This will mill our whole graveyard over. Always yield to these. So I'd like to get a little bit of information about our opponent's hand. So we're going to Cabal Therapy first here. Because I'd like to at least see what we're working with for the purposes of sideboarding. So we just need to find one of these Cabal Therapies. Cast, targeting them, and we will sacrifice this creature. So they should concede here. Yeah, because they don't want to show what they've got. Alright. Our opponent played a basic mountain. So I think we should assume that they are playing Moon Stompy. Which means we're going to want these 4 Force of Vigors. This 1 Foundation Breaker. And we're getting rid of Pact of Negations. And a single Thoughtseize. Now, our opponent could be on something else. But I think the deck most likely to lead out with basic mountain is the Stompy deck. Like it could be a bunch of other things. It could be something like Painter, but that's going to have a very similar sideboarding. It could be something like it could just be a Jeskai deck, in which case then we've boarded horribly here. But the way they just passed through our entire turn and let us go to town pretty much, I think we should assume that there are this. They could also be a Sneak and Show deck, which would be a different board yet again. But I think we will submit like this. So this is a slower hand, but it does get there. We have 1, 2, 3 mana to play this. It will be a couple of turns though. I think we should mulligan though. I think this is too slow. Okay, so 1, 2, play this into this with a land. Yeah, okay. So this does it. We have to get rid of one of the cards. I think it should be the Wild Cantor here. So done. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to Lay Down in the Void. They mulligan to 2 cards. So we are in alright shape. If we draw another green card, we go this turn. Okay. So we can't go this turn. We kind of want to do it all in one single turn. We can just play out the Undercity Informer this turn. But I think we are incentivized to wait another turn here. Although the only issue is our opponent could be playing Chalice in their deck, but they're not going to be able to draw it and cast the next turn. So we get one more turn to try and find any coloured spell works for us now. Or a land. Okay, so drew a mountain. So we should be fine here, I think. Yes, okay. So we don't actually need to go this turn. We would like to keep... trying to work out which is the correct thing to pitch here. So we're going to be pitching this and this. And this make Cabal Ritual. Sure. So we can just go to discard and discard our Chrome Mox. And then in their end step we can do the Force of Vigor. So we could have done the Force of Vigor last time, but we needed to know we were drawing a spell. A thing that made us mana. So our opponent has 1 card here. So we'll cast this, targeting this. We will exile. This is permanent mana, so I think we might prefer the Turn Timber to the Spirit Guide here. So play this one out. Pay 3 life. Play this out. Cast this. Cast this. Exile this. Target myself. Okay, so yeah. We played through the hate piece. I think we correctly identified what deck our opponent is, which is one of the important skills of playing this deck. You need to know how you're sideboarding. You need to identify decks as quickly as possible, especially because you win games on turn 1. Alright, so that's 1-0 pretty quick. Let's go into the next round. So we're on the play. Our opening hand has mana but doesn't have the things we need, so we have to mulligan this. How much mana can this hand make? So we can make 1 off this, 2, 3, 4. So this works. We're pretty cold to counterspell, but I think we should keep this one and go. So put this on the bottom. We're on the play. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 5, which suggests they might be on a combo deck of their own. Now the issue here is we have to summon as packed. So if they do get us, then we just lose the game. Cast this. Black. Exile this. Balustrade Spy. Okay, so they're conceding without letting us know what they're playing. They mulligan to 5, which is generally something I'd expect a Reanimator deck to do, so I'm going to board it as their Reanimator. Based on the mulligan decision and the fact they didn't interact with us at all. So, for Reanimator we want 4 Leyliner's Sanctity to fill the hand disruption. And 2 of these, Leyline of the Void, pretty obvious. And we're getting rid of 4 Pact of Negation and 2 Thoughtseize. Right, that's what I have on my list. And it all makes sense. This saves us from discard, this buys us additional turns. So I think this is fine. Now our opponent could be something else, but we'll find out soon. This is an awkward hand because we don't have the black mana for the Kabar Ritual. I think we should mulligan this one. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. I don't think we can keep this hand either. So if we get rid of these 2, that gives us the mana to do our thing on turn 1. Our opponent's on 4 cards. 3 cards. There might be a deck that has a Leyline of the Void in. Okay, so they're beginning the game with a Leyline of the Void in play. We cannot beat this unless we beat down. We do have the Reanimate in our deck. Okay, a Windswept Heath. Feels like we've just missed on what we were playing there. Which is going to happen sometimes when you win turn 1. What we're going to do here. We can play a creature out. Is there a way we can play 2 creatures out? I don't think there is. So this is 3, 4. So we can play out a 2/3 flyer, which is probably better than the alternative. We have to target them because we don't want to target ourselves, because we will lose the game. So we have got 10 turns to try and beat them down with the Balustrade Spy. Our opponent did mulligan a great deal, and if we can find some more mana, we might be able to play one of these guys. Okay, so this is looking like elves. This Leyline of Sanctity does nothing. So we are losing this race now, I think. If that's what it's just going to turn out to be. As long as they can make green spells, they can keep on tapping. Okay, if they're attacking with just this, that's fine for us. Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay. The clock is certainly not in our favour now. I think we have to hold back here, so the game is probably over. We're just trying to see a little bit more of our opponent's deck before we concede, just because then we'll get some better information. Turn Timber Symbiosis. This is alright, it means we might be able to play a 2/2 soon, which if we do, it means we can start attacking with our guy again. I think we're okay to attack this turn. Our opponent didn't play anything, so their Nettle Sentinel could attack and then get tapped down. And stay tapped down. This is a very silly game. Glimpse of Nature. Okay. We're just using this as a cycle. Okay, so they're going to have 3 elves, so if they draw anything, they can keep going. Then they can bounce one and replay it and draw another card with the Glimpse of Nature. So we are incredibly far behind. We're basically just a cradle away from losing this game. We were not expecting to win when we saw the Leyline on turn 1 there. Doesn't do anything for us. We need another mana source to play one of these out, really. We can go and get a mana source, but we will lose the game, which feels like quite a heavy cost to play a 2/2. So that Glimpse of Nature effectively undone our opponent's mulligan. Okay, so they can bounce one of them with the Wirewood here. So we're just going to get slowly beaten down here. I think we can skip this one up. I think we've had enough. I've seen enough of their deck to know what's going on. So we would very much like these Force of Vigor and Foundation Breaker in over this Leyline of Sanctity. The Thoughtseize seem worse than Pact of Negation, since we're going to be dealing with some amount of endurance perhaps. And I think that means we probably want to be boarding out some number of Like maybe the Memories Journey and the Reanimate can go here. And that leaves us just trying to cut one more card to make sure we can fit all of this in. Is this excessive? Oh, we don't need the ley lines, do we? Get rid of the ley lines. Keep these in. Okay, that's quite clean now. Actually, oh no, we can't keep them both in. I don't think we need the Reanimate. I think we just play like this. So we're expecting our opponent to have a ley line. So we want to keep a hand that beats ley line. This hand doesn't do our combo or beat ley line, so we have to mulligan this one. Our opponent has begun the game with 7 cards in hand. This does not beat ley line in the void. So we have to mulligan. This hand can beat ley line in the void, right? This can go and get us Foundation Breaker, which is 2 mana. And we have this and the Mox for this. Okay, yeah, we keep this. We need to work out what goes here is the only question. I think we're going to need this Dark Ritual for black mana. We might have to put it into the Chrome Mox, which means we probably get rid of a Spirit Guide and a Summoner's Pact here. And say done. Let's see what our opponent starts the game with. Okay, so they started with a ley line, 2 ley lines. Oakley dokley. So I think we play this one out. So what we can do is we can play out the Undercity Informer, and then on the turn so our mana isn't taxed as much. Like we're a little bit behind here, but we kind of need the Force of Vigor here because they have double ley line, which we didn't really plan for. But this is fine. We can play this untapped. Oh, sorry, tapped. And then we're just waiting to try and hit one of those Force of Vigors we brought it in. Our opponent did keep 7 though, so bear in mind 2 of them were these. Right, so taking a little bit of a beating there. They got a follow-up to untap the Nettle Sentinel. Birchall Rangers, sure. So this can help them power out another spell this turn. They can maybe play Elvish Visionary. Should be very bad for us. Okay, they didn't do that. Force of Vigor, please. This is interesting. We can't get rid of both of these ley lines. We can play out the Chrome Mox, but there's no need to play it out now. I think we are back to passing the turn and hoping we draw the Force of Vigor. This is very much the glass side of a glass cannon we're seeing right now. So our opponent can natural order us this turn 1, 2, 3, 4. If they have something like an Archon that they want to hit us with. Okay, so not doing anything like that. They're just going to beat us for 2 and then untap their Nettle Sentinel with a spell, most likely. Force of Vigor, please. Simian Spirit Guide. So we have plenty of mana here. We can play out our Undercity Informer because our opponent probably doesn't run a lot in the way of removal. So we could do that. Play this out. I think we put the Wild Cancer underneath this one. By playing this out this turn, it means if we draw the Force of Vigor next turn, we can cast it and pop our guy in one turn on our turn. This also stops us getting pecked away by a 2-3, and the Elf deck probably, because this is like the Nettle Sentinel, probably isn't going to have a lot in the way of removal for my creature. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. This way it gives us a line that we win next turn if we draw Force of Vigor. Because we get 3 mana off of this, 4, 5. So that's enough to blow both of these up and pop this guy. It's going to be tricky. A Cradle. This is super bad news. Quirion Ranger. Yeah. So this could just be trying to make the biggest natural order they can. I think we lose if they do natural order us here. Okay, this is a Crater Hoof from hand. How big are each of these going to be? I think we are dead here, right? So this is 19. Trample damage plus 7, which is 25, and I can only block 3 of that. So we are dead. Sure. Like, this is part of the problem with these decks sometimes. Because if I go too low, mulliganing for an answer for this, then I don't have it. So I had the answer for one of them. So we had the Foundation Breaker to kill one of these. But we couldn't kill both of them, which is the issue. So I was quite happy with my mulligan decision there, my play. It's just, sometimes you get, it doesn't help that we didn't get the read on their deck in game 2. I think when you don't know what your opponent's playing, you should always be boarding in the one Foundation Breaker. purely because you can still go and get it if you just got the one. So I think maybe I should have brought this singleton in just as a hedge because I didn't know what my opponent was doing. All right, we are 1-1. Let's go into round 3. Okay, we're on the die roll, which is nice and where we want to be. This hand doesn't go anywhere, so we have to mulligan. This hand also doesn't go anywhere, so we have to mulligan. This hand is pretty awkward. We are 1 mana off here because the only black mana we have access to is this for Wild Cantor, so I have to play this into the Cantor, which gives us Dark Ritual, which gives us the Undercity Informer. But only having to draw 1 mana is probably fine. So I think we can probably bottom these 2 because we don't want them. And we pass through our turn. Alright. Opponent has played a Savannah. Chances are that their deck has Endurance in. So that's a little bit of a problem. So if we can draw a black source here, that'll be nice. Let's see what we have. Another Undercity Informer. That doesn't do it. I think it was right to keep this hand because this hand is only missing one thing, and that was a single piece of mana, which is the most abundant thing in our deck. Like Chromox, Lotus Petal, Spirit Guide, any of the 8 lands, another Summoner's Pact. All of that would have been enough. But alas, that is not the case. Losing a game 1 with this deck would be really awkward for a match. Okay, our opponent is some sort of Abzan build. So this might be more towards the Fiend Artisan decks than Thalia. Can I beat Thalia at this point? Probably not. Do I think I can beat Thalia here? I think I'll take one more draw step because we go to discard. And I don't want them to see any of the cards in my deck. I could always discard the Bridge from Below and try and convince them I'm Dredge, but then they're going to have the same answers for me as well as a Dredge deck, so that seems pretty pointless. Get a little bit more information about the deck if they are like the Fiend Artisan. Oh, they got blue as well. That certainly changes my understanding of what our opponent's doing. Leovold. Okay, so this is Maverick. Sure. So we need to draw loads of... Okay, this is a start. So this... So I'm 1 mana off, actually. It's annoying. I think we still play this out. I think we can still win this game. If we draw another Spirit Guide, then we can Spirit Guide Dark Ritual for 3. Play it, use a Spirit Guide, because Thalia won't tax the Undercity Informer. So that works. If we get wastelanded, then sure, our 3-colour opponent has wastelanded us. Oh, sorry, our 4-colour opponent. We don't have a lot of turns to get around this. There is also the issue with the Thalia. Actually, we need to be able to play the Dread Return through the Thalia as well, actually, don't we? This is going to get tricky. Balustrade Spy. That doesn't do anything for us here. Our opponent knows what deck we're playing because we played this out. So I think we play out the Undercity Informer this turn, because then we can at least block with it. And then we'll have more mana up for Thalia next turn. That way, if we draw a mana source next turn, we can win through the Thalia. Now this has to survive against a deck that's almost certainly going to be playing Swords to Plowshares. So we're going to be in a spot of bother, I would say. Our opponent didn't kill our creature in the turn, that was nice. Swords to Plowshares. Yep, I think we can scoop this one. So we need, what do we need to win here? We would need a Dark Ritual and a Spirit Guide just to cast this guy. Yeah, I think we are dead here. Right, we'll concede. So our opponent is going to have Endurances in their deck. I think we can safely assume that one. But Maverick quite often has other bits and pieces as well. I think just a Foundation Breaker might be enough here. So we can shoot for that. And we're probably looking at getting rid of... Let's have a look at the guide. Thoughtseize, Mox, or Mox Cabal Ritual. So the Mox is definitely going. Now, is it Thoughtseize or the Cabal Ritual that goes here? I think on the play we should probably be just getting rid of the Thoughtseizes. The Thoughtseize can we've kind of got the ley lines in for the endurance, haven't we? 2, 3. Okay, let's try like this. The Cyber God I have doesn't have Maverick on, but it has a couple of decks that are slightly similar. So we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4 Balustrade Spire with ley line. I'll keep this. Let's Cabal Ritual out. If our opponent has Mindbreak Trap, we could be in trouble. They did not have Mindbreak Trap. So we will be using up a Cabal Therapy here, just so we can see our opponent's hand. We know we can't be Enduranced. Okay, they don't want us to see their hands. We don't know what the hate we're playing around is. They're a Green Sun Zenith deck, so Endurance makes sense. Now, is there something different I should be doing on my... So Pact of Negation and Leonard's Sanctuary are both covers for Endurance. I think we have to try and go off on turn 1 before they can play a Thalia. I think we'll resubmit as is. So we don't actually have one of the creatures, so we have to mulligan this one. This hand is 1 mana off, so I think we can keep this. And we'll bottom the Dread Return. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have a Leyline the Void. So we need to find a Summoner's Pact as well at some point. And a Deafening Silence. Sure, that's not ideal for us. We can still win through the Deafening Silence. I think this means we are playing out our mana here. I think we've probably lost this game. So we could play out the Wild Cancer, but we don't know what mana we're going to need necessarily. So we have the Foundation Breaker. That was definitely part of the problem we needed to deal with. So this is a creature spell, so it doesn't impact it. This is also a creature spell, so we have no real need to play any more spells out yet. We're just looking to draw more mana now. Ideally, mana that is Spirit Guides. We can use this for the black. Green Suns for 2. So this is going to be a Collector Roof, so we can't use our Lotus Petal anymore. Which is a shame. Yep, there it is. So back to needing mana again. Turn Timber Symbiosis. This is a good one. Yes. We're going to play out the Wild Cancer this turn. So that way we have more mana up next turn if we need to. So we need 6 mana total. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need 2 more Spirit Guides to get there. We can get there with a Dark Ritual because this is non-creature and we're just going to be casting 2 creature spells. Green Sun Zenith for 2. I don't know what this could be. I'm guessing it's going to be bad for us. Could be just a second Collector Roof. Seems unlikely. It might just be Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, we go Scavenging Ooze. Okay, the Wasteland is very good here for them. Okay. So they don't have a very fast clock at least. But this clock can ramp up. We need some mana. Okay. We can cast Undercity Informer this turn. But we still need the mana to cast the Foundation Breaker. The Undercity Informer checks the Collector Roof. But I think we just have to pass a turn here. At any point our Wild Cancer dies, we're in trouble. But we do have a lot of draws here that are good. Any Mana Dork. The Dark Ritual here will give us 3, 4, 5 mana. We might get into a situation where we have to play the Undercity Informer. Yikes. So black. Because we have a second Undercity Informer, I think we just have to play this out. This checks the Collector Roof, so that buys us a lot more turns. Now we just need some mana for this Foundation Breaker, and then some mana for this Undercity Informer. That's pretty bad. It gains us 2 life, but we did have a spare Undercity Informer, but the thing we've lost there is the mana, which is probably going to kill us. So, generally speaking, I don't really see Maverick decks with Leylines of the Void in very often. But we are in a situation where they are very much intact. So this is a mana, as long as it's our only non-creature spell of the turn. So, but we now need 4, 5, 6 mana. So we need 5 more mana in 2 turns. That's just not happening, is it? No, I think we can concede this one. Sure. Yeah. we could have boarded differently. I boarded around the Green Sun Zenith deck being a endurance deck. When I played Maverick the other day, it was just had endurances in. And yeah. Alright. Sometimes you'll get caught off by unusual choices. That's the problem with boarding with this deck sometimes. You can board for what you expect your opponent to have. And then you have hedges like this, which we had. But alas, was not enough. Alright, round 4. We're on the draw. Our hand goes off on turn 1. So I think we keep that. We can also go off round of days. And Misty Rainforest from our opponents. Into a basic island, most likely for a ponder. There's the ponder. Let's go with this. Okay, so the Force of Willing that, exiling the Brainstorm. So next turn we can go again because you have this and we have 2 mana. So I'm surprised I didn't try and Force of Will the Balustrade Spy. If that was a Force of Negation, that would have made more sense to me. Gonna be one of those games, is it? Exile, exile, cast this guy. Do you have another Force of Will? Looks like they did not have another Force of Will. I think I would like to get some more information about my opponent's deck, so I'm going to Cabal Therapy them. This means if they endurance us, we'll at least have some creatures in play. Whereas if we sack all of these, if we sack 2 of them to a Dread Return, then that's going to be less useful for us. It's going to be a Pyroblast on one of our Narcomoebas. It is a Lightning Bolt. Okay. See what they got. Suppose you just name Brainstorm. We can always go again. Okay, so just red sources here. Where is our Bridge from Below? Not a Bridge from Below, our Dread Return. And I would like to have our Thassa's Oracle back. We'll sacrifice these 3. Okay, so our opponent scooped there. So our opponent looks like they're playing Delver. They just had a really slow start because the Steam Vents is a bit of a giveaway, as well as the fact that they're playing Lightning Bolt, whereas all the control decks tend to run the like white removal. Right, so for this matchup we would like 4 Xantid Swarms, 1 Breaker, and we get rid of 2 Mox, and 2 and 3 Cabal Ritual according to the sideboard guide. Makes sense to me. And we click submit. So this hand doesn't do the thing, so we have to mulligan. This hand doesn't do the thing, so we have to mulligan. This hand also doesn't do the thing and doesn't have any mana to keep, so we have to mulligan again. We still haven't seen any of our creatures yet. We can make a turn 1 Xantid Swarm. Turn 2 Cabal Therapy. So if we keep this hand, all we'll be doing is trying to draw into one of the creatures. I think that is better than going to 3 here. So I have to put 3 cards away. So I think put these 3 away. So done. Doesn't look great for us on this one, but we had to go to 4 to even, and we still didn't find any of our little creatures. Okay, so there's one of our creatures that we wanted. So we'll play this. We'll play the Xantid Swarm. If they don't wasteland us, we get to do this next turn. Let's see how we do. No wasteland. Okay, so they have to kill our Xantid Swarm this turn. Now, they might not have any way of killing it. They might have boarded them all out. Okay, so this is Expressive Iteration where they already have 2 lands, so I think we have this sewn up now. Unless our opponent's got something real weird. Like Fairy Macabre or something, which shouldn't be in their deck. I think that's the only thing that beats us here. Force of Will. So we'll draw for turn. Go to combat. Attack. Our little man. No spells for you. Pay this out. Pay this out. Yes, we're going to save the Lotus Petal in case we need to do the Memory's Journey for some reason. Which I don't think we will need to do. But, just in case. Let's mill ourselves. Okay, sure. So we got the match there. I was quite happy with my mulligan decision. Obviously, if I didn't draw a Balustrade Spy, it would look pretty bad. But I think at that point, the amount of resources I need to go off. Like, I had the protection. I had 2 mana sources that were permanent mana sources, which is very good when you have the protection. And I had the Dark Ritual, so I don't think I can get a better 3-card hand than that 4-card hand I had. It just needed the one piece and we got there. All right, going into the final round with 2 and 2. So on the draw, this hand goes off on turn 2. Because turn 1 I have to play out the wild cancel. If I draw any mana source, then I can go on turn 1. Because we Chrome Mox, Narcomoeba, turn Timber, Symbiosis. That's 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana from this, and the wild cancel will be the black mana for the Balustrade Spy. So I think we keep this one. I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough. Tropical Island. Mox Diamond. Okay. Maze of Ith. Green Sun Zenith for 1. There's probably going to be Elvish Reclaimer. Okay, this is the problem. This can go get Bajuka Bog. So we really need to draw a mana source this turn. We drew a mana source. Okay. So I think we are okay here. We play this. Play through life. We Summoner's Pact. We get Elvish Spirit Guide. We Summoner's Pact. We get Elvish Spirit Guide. We play this Chrome Mox. We exile this. We cast this. We make black mana. This. We're going to have to Cabal Therapy ourselves to get the Dread Return in our graveyard day. So our opponent can Endurance us if they've got one. That would be pretty bad. They did not have an Endurance. Excellent. So our opponent is like... They look like a lands deck, but they have a Tropical Island. So I've got questions. Alright, let's see what the sideboard guide says for like lands and green-white depths and see what we come up with. So Sanctity. Sanctity comes in for lands and green-white depths, as does the One Breaker. Now, they do have blue mana available, which could be a problem for us. And then it's the 2 Mox and the Cabal Rituals that come out, according to this. I definitely think we could get stung by something here. But this will definitely hit the Bajuka Bog that we know is going to be in their deck. So we submit like this. So this is our opening hand. It is missing black mana. How much of an issue is missing black mana going to be? How many black mana sources do we have? We have the 4 lands. We have 4 Lotus Petal. And I think we have to mulligan this one. 1 land, 2 land. We're still going to need some more mana sources for this to really go off. I think we mulligan again. This one has the protection. It has the mana. It doesn't have the creature. Do I think I can get a better 4 than this? This will leave us needing to draw one of the guys. I think on the numbers we keep this. We can bottom this and probably has to be the Elvish Spirit Guide here. Start with this in place. We can't get Thought Seized or Bajuka Bogged or Endurance here. A Plateau. Okay, so our opponent play many things. This doesn't impact us. It means we have to play out our Lotus Petal and that's about it. That's the only bridge from below. That certainly doesn't do it. So we have to play out this. And then we say go. We can get stung by a Prismatic Ending on the Lotus Petal. Dragon's Rage Channeler. I have no idea what our opponent's deck does. It's a Dragon's Rage Channeler, Elvish Reclaimer deck with Tropical Islands and Plateaus in it. So there's a Bajuka Bog we know about. Turn Timber Symbiosis. So we play this one tapped. So we can definitely go off if we draw the guy. Whether or not it's going to be good enough, I don't know. We do have the issue of the Deafening Silence versus our... Oh, this is going to be bad for us. What is this going to name? Dread Return? Dread Return, yeah. So the way we win this game is use the Memory's Journey to shuffle in the cards we need to win. So we have to mill ourselves and then shuffle it in. So we need to keep a green mana up. Agadeem's Awakening. Is there a world where we cast this? I don't think there is. I think we say no to this. We still need to draw the guy. Expressive Iteration. Yeah. So our opponent is just playing lots of the good cards by the looks of it. I'm not sure if this deck can reliably support Force of Will. It does look like Endurance is something they can do here. Just as a deck in general. But I'm not sure. Because Endurance is just a fine creature to have in your deck and cast. But it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pitch cast it relatively reliably. Same with Force of Will here. Okay. So we're taking damage, but not a lot. It's got a few turns left still. Elvish Spirit Guide. In case we'd like to play an Elvish Spirit Guide, but I don't think we want to do that. I have no idea what cards are in my opponent's deck. We're probably going to want Force of Natures in here. Mox Diamond. Which means we're probably taking out Thought Seizes for the Force of Vigors, I would imagine. But that's going to be quite a big change to what's in our deck, so who knows. Is this a Green Suns for 2? An Uro. Okay, we don't care about their life total. We care about ours at the moment. Okay, so this puts them up to a Flip Dragon Channeler. So this is going to hit us for 5 this turn. Which is quite a lot. And this can get a Bajuka Bog, not that the Bajuka Bog can hit us. But we might be able to get something random that I don't know about. I think this is a turn we have to cast an Elvish Spirit Guide. And try and block with it. We're going to see more of our opponent's deck. Hopefully we can see some more of their hate pieces they brought in. Chase the Mind Sculptor. Our opponent is just playing all their favourite cards by the looks of it. Quite a wild one. Barbarian Ring, Colosseum, Prismatic Ending. Like, they could be a Force of Will deck. Certainly seems greedy, but I think we take it this turn. No, I think we have to block this turn, don't we? I don't think we can win this game. Another Ley Line of Sanctity. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's exactly lethal. So we can see the game. Like, we can play an Elvish Spirit Guide out there, but I don't think we're winning that one. So our opponent is playing some pretty random looking cards, in my opinion. On the play, is Force of Vigor better than Thoughtseize? That is a question. Our opponent is playing 4-color, not black. Like, I think Thoughtseize is going to be better than the Force of Vigor here. I think we just go hard with Pact of Negation and stuff. Yeah, let's give it a go. So this is 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. I cast this guy. I have to survive a turn with it. It's going to be tricky. We've seen Prismatic Ending, and we see they're going to be running Swords to Plowshares as well. So I think we keep this because we have our protection piece. The question is, do we go on turn 1 and play our guy? I think we do, because we know that they're relying on Deafening Silence. Let's see how low our opponent mulligans first. Okay, opponent's begun with full grip there. So if we play out just the Lotus Petal, that plays around Deafening Silence but doesn't play around Prismatic Ending. I'm choosing to play around the Silence because that's better in their deck than the Ending is, which probably shouldn't really be in their deck at this point. Let's see what they have. I'm going to get Endinged here. I can feel it in my bones. Nope. Mox Diamond. This can't cast a Meddling Mage. There's probably some random thing. Okay, just a Life from the Loam. Just a Garden Variety Life from the Loam. So a mana this turn would be great. There's a mana. Okay. Let's play this one out. Let's exile this one. And exile this one. And cast this one. Black. Now we have the Pact of Negation if we need it. Let's see how we did. Okay, we got the concession there. So we ended up with a 3-2. So let's have a quick look at the deck. So what did we lose against? So we lost against Maverick with the Ley Line of the Void out the sideboard that we didn't expect, and they had 2 of them when we had the answer to 1 of them. So that was a little bit awkward. And I'm trying to remember what the other deck we lost to was. It was over so quickly, all these games. So it's definitely a quick league. But anyway, so let's just talk about how I found playing the deck. So it felt to me like more permanent mana sources would be nice. Obviously, that's not really a thing you can realistically do in this deck because the other permanent mana sources don't really cast your spells. And or you can have the ones that come into play tapped, which are just bad. It's a shame. But if they ever do any like more of these like double face land, I think this deck will be much stronger. Like, it does feel quite strong. I didn't really get to Thoughtseize our opponents and clear the way. It did feel like you're more or less all in a lot of the time, but again, that's how the deck runs. Sometimes getting the black mana felt like a challenge a little bit. I don't really know if there's any way of fixing that, because obviously you can run more Chrome Moxes, but these require multiple resources. So the more you mulligan, the worse Chrome Mox is. So I don't think that's a valid option here. Yeah, I think like the deck is subject to variance. Like there was that round where we had to mulligan pretty deep and still didn't find a guy, so we had to keep a hand and hope to draw into him, and we did. But then there was the game where we had to do the same thing and we didn't draw into the guy. So you're at the mercy a little bit with variance, but I do like the fact that this deck rewards you a little bit for knowing the metagame. The only issue is your opponent will not show you their hand in game one if you're on the play. So it often feels like you're going to win game one, but probably going to lose game two a lot of the time. Like you can board in like your Foundation Breaker as a catch-all or like whatever you think, but chances are you're going to get caught a little bit blindsided at some point. So it feels like, but at the end of the day, you have to remember to win a tournament Magic the Gathering, you have to play well, but also get lucky. You have to do both. So this is a good deck that if you're running hot, it's going to be good, and knowing like your reads on the metagame and things like that, and having a cohesive sideboard plan for all your matchups means that you're going to be able to leverage your play skill in a small amount, because obviously you don't play many turns with this game, but which means there are less decisions you make, but those decisions are far more important than they are with other decks. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. It was a nice quick league, which given some of the long ones I've been doing lately was quite a pleasant change. However, I think the deck is actually quite interesting. Like there was lots of times where I was like, oh, I need to, if I draw this, I can do this, or I can play around X, Y, Z if I do this. So there was a lot more play to it than I necessarily thought there was going to be going in. And yeah, like this is a deck that if we won a tournament, nobody would bat an eyelid. They think, okay, cool, because this is a deck that is, in amongst decks that people play. I think it is the best, like proper turn one combo deck. Like the Epic Storm and the Epic Gamble are kind of turn one combo decks, but not always. They sometimes set up, whereas this deck almost always tries to go on the turn one. But it is a lot more resilient than things like Charbelcher have been in the past, or the Cheerios deck where you play out all the zeros and try and resolve one specific spell and it just gets hit. Even something like Ad Nauseam Tendrils, that doesn't get to play Pact of Negation and stuff like that in it. So I think this deck is genuinely a good deck, and I love 75 or 60 card combo decks where every single component of the deck is kind of part of the combo. So because we're having a severe building restriction, which is what we're doing here, it means that every single part has to go towards that building restriction. And I kind of like sort of developing decks in a space with a restriction. And obviously this is a sizable restriction, but all the pieces kind of fit together quite nicely. If there was like another fast black mana, so if we got like Phyrexian Spirit Guide that was just a black version of this, then I think this deck would be really strong, because you could basically replace 2 Chrome Mox and 2 Spirit Guide with like a black Spirit Guide, and that would be an enormous upgrade of power for this deck. Doesn't seem like we're going to get that, but we got a lot of Phyrexian sets coming up, so who knows. All right, I think that's me done for today. A nice short one, and I quite enjoyed this one. Yeah, you don't lose very slowly either. You just kind of lose quite quickly with it, which is nice. I hate sort of waiting for my opponent to try and kill me when I've got a potential out in my deck, but it's very minimal and our opponent's killing us slowly, whereas this deck doesn't really do that. You kind of go hard or go home. And we went relatively well. 3-2 is not too bad first time playing this deck, and you do hit the variance there. All right, that's it. So if you could scroll down quickly and hit the old subscribe button if you're still watching, because it means you won't miss any of my content. It doesn't cost you a penny and it really helps me out. And if you know anyone who's interested in legacy coverage, like legacy leagues and things like that, then by all means send them my channel. I need to get as many subscribers as I can. I'm hoping to hit 1,000 by the new year, which is quite a big target, so I could do with your help. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching and goodbye.